Welcome back to the Hockey Shop Source for Sports. We're down here with Cam Matwiv in Goalie Utopia. And today we're going to talk about an important, though often overlooked, part of goaltending equipment. One that is crucial, especially as you go up in the levels. But frankly, you should probably start getting used to at a younger age. Knee pads. Most of your pads are built to be used with them. And yet some of you still aren't using them properly. So Cam, I was over there checking it out. Tons of options from all the different brands, from youth up to senior, sizing, fit. Walk us through. We're going to go through some models here today, some various models. But what's the first question you ask when somebody says, "I need some knee pads"?
Well, first of all, were you wearing knee pads in the past? And be honest, I'm surprised still at how many people say no. Those of you that are out there that are listening and or watching, you know who you are.
Hey, listen, I give the lectures here.
Well, danger. Actually, there's a quick story on knee pads, and I was playing with you at one point, and we were playing a little bit of 3-on-3, and I think you specifically remember I took a slap shot off the knee, and I was wearing knee pads, and it still managed to get a pretty good bruise on my knee, and I couldn't imagine if I didn't have anything there, I probably wouldn't be walking.
Cam has an exceptionally narrow butterfly. He doesn't do enough of Maria Mountain's butterfly width training program. So narrow butterfly, it's like the old Jaguar, right? When you have that narrow butterfly and the pads can't close in front of you, you really do expose your knee. So Cam's lack of flexibility cost him on that particular day.
Yes.
But it was a lesson that others can learn from.
Exactly.
So once we've answered that question, say I haven't worn one before. Say I'm an idiot. No offense to those of you who aren't wearing them. What's your first, where do we go from there?
Well, the next question would be what kind of pads are you wearing? So this does kind of negate a little bit of what direction will take you. Like Vaughn still tends to have a bit of a tighter knee cradle. We don't want to be putting, our biggest knee pad in there. Otherwise, you're going to cause yourself some problems. So,
whereas CCM is a pad that I know we've talked about in our reviews over the years. Specifically designed to have almost like right up to a pro style and size knee pad worn on that knee cradle.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like almost all pads, fresh pads nowadays that are on the wall currently are designed to be, used in some sort of conjunction with a knee pad and have different features to benefit. It's just especially if you're coming from some older models.
Some have more room than others. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
So figuring out how much room you have is the first step, and then what? There are different options, different models that sort of take up more space, both on the knee pad and in terms of protection?
Correct, yeah. So now it's like, okay, how is this knee pad going to integrate with really, everything that you're using? So even the pant question kind of comes on next too. What pant are you wearing? If you have a narrow barrel inside the pant, again, you can't use something too big. Some of the pants also have different options to be able to lace the knee pad into them and different integration standpoints. So those are all quick questions that kind of come off the bat. Next, honestly, is try stuff on. You got to create a bit of a preference, especially if you don't have one. And the only way you can do that is get some onto your knees. People that are shopping online, this is something that's a little bit tougher to do, especially. But some of the tips that I have as you're looking at knee pads is that you want to kind of go, feedback's worth dime a dozen. I'll be the first one to say that. That said, start looking at different options. That said, you usually can get a lot of good feedback, and sometimes if something's really positive and has affected the market, and moved it forward in terms of for like knee pads and protection, you're going to find a lot of positive reviews that will kind of help you navigate your way through the many different options. Or watch this video.
That would be my first recommendation. We probably should have just started and finished.
It was a really long-winded answer to say just watch the video.
Watch this video or listen to this podcast. So, and you talked about the pants and the integration. Obviously, when we went through the pants, we showed you the models that have different barrels in terms of do they have NHL restricted in terms of the leg channel? Are they fully wide and square? And that'll tell you how much room you have, whether they tie in there or whether you need to find another way to attach them. But let's just start going through them. I'm assuming starting with this, since you brought it out first, the Brian's Optic model, a little bit more of a squared off look. Where does this fit in terms of the scale of size and how it feels and fits?
Yeah, so we're starting off strong here, a little bit bigger. So just to clarify to you, I've pulled 6 models here. that are all sitting beside Kevin. This isn't all that we carry. It's just kind of 6 ones that were a quick, easy grab, and then one of my good go-tos. This Brian's Optic knee pad, still a little bit newer, came out 2 years ago, I think it is, off the top of my head. Great option in terms of for a pro level protection. A little bit wider in terms of the coverage standpoint of it, but very, very protective in terms of the hard cap. You'll get something similar to that when you present it down to the shooter, with it actually sitting flush on the knee cradle. Lots of protection going up the extra thigh too. So if you happen to kind of get caught in a lean back situation, or as you're sliding across, give you lots of protection.
And some tabs at the top if you want to integrate it with either a garter or clips or your pants.
That's correct. Yeah. So again, giving that flexibility of, how you want to wear your knee pad. For those that are watching, I'll give a little bit of a tip later on near the end of the video here. So a little bit of a teaser to stick along. Those that are listening, I'll try to explain it the best I can.
All right. So let's take a look at some of the other options. Let's start with the Bauer one. This is a model that, just looking at it, judging on it in comparison to that Optic, just a little bit more of a streamlined fit would maybe be the way to describe this. Maybe not as bulky, not as big. If you're in a pad that maybe has a little less room, or if you haven't worn knee guards before, this might be a great place to start.
Correct. This is a very popular one. These Bauer Supreme knee guards, an evolution from the older Supreme, with all yellow backing that some of you may have recognized and seen in the past. Bauer's added a bit of pour on to the actual impact of where you land in the knee area to create a little bit more comfort inside of it as well.
I like pour on. I also like, and I'm sure there are some parents of young goaltenders that are going to like, left and right. So, I had to think about which is my left and which is my right. Now, these are junior size that you've brought out because, I don't know, you think I'm a kid or something like that, but they don't quite fit on the knee so well. But I like left and right because I'm not that bright.
So, I think I just brought out this pair for one reason and one reason alone, was just to show you that there is a left and right to the knee pads, because that's quite important. Velcro always on the outside is an easy way to remember. Again, obviously the
get the size that fits.
Yeah, that great.
It's my monstrous calves that are the problem here.
But hey, you know what? I have guys that sometimes do go with the smaller set of knee pads, finding them a little bit tighter. Like, the bottom line, as long as you're wearing something, that's a great start. In terms of fit wise, that is a bit preference. Obviously, that bottom anchor strap's going to be a little bit too tight for you to do. That said, that's one of the reasons why this is a very good seller for us. This bottom anchor strap, when used properly and with the right size, really helps to keep the knee pad square and centered on the leg as opposed to sliding down, because that's always one of the things you're going to be chasing with knee pads, is that matter of slip. So we find this one anchors very well. Again, garter point attachments, which come in handy depending on how you want to wear your gear. Very protected knee pad, hard cap on the top there, especially, that's going to be covering your knee when you drop down. So another great option.
All right, where are we going next?
Moving on.
That's the Bauer Supreme. Moving on. What's next in terms of let's slide up that scale from small to big. Where does the Vaughn fit in this one?
So Vaughn fits actually somewhere in the middle. These SLR knee pads, they consider it technically their mid option. Well, there we go. All right.
Another one with a left and a right to help Kevin.
Yes, exactly. So a little bit more basic actually with this one. Similar to the Bauer, but slightly different all at the same time. And that's the best part. Like, if they made them all the same, why would I carry 5 different brands of knee pads? That said, comes up a little bit wider on the knee. This one's going to fit you properly, so we'll get a good example here.
Doesn't help the podcast, folks. Keep talking.
What's happening right now is he's getting a good taper all the way around. There is a bit more bulk to this one. You can see this knee pad design has been around for quite a long time. It's very familiar since V3, I think they've had it.
This is
fits into the Vaughn pad well.
SLR Pro.
Yep. But you get a good seal, especially when you drop down onto the knee cradle. It'll give you good protection across the knee. So let's go something really big and wild and crazy. So reach over and grab those CCM Pros.
Oh, CCM Pro. This is my kind of thing. This is actually the knee pad that I wear.
So if you were going to ask me what the biggest knee pad I have and carry, it's definitely these guys by far. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're looking for a lot of protection, but while still having some good comfort, this is your guy right here.
This is a model that I see in NHL locker rooms quite frequently over the years. Obviously, we're not in the room this season, but this is a model I've seen over the years many times. As you'll see here as we do it up, and this is one that, like I said, I wear myself. It does have, you can compare it side by side with the Vaughn SLR. It's got a bit of a wider profile. It's got a bit of a thicker protection. It's got the knee hinge. It's actually got a screwed in hinge there on the sides. Good seal on the bottom, but also the plastic cap and their sort of their technology in terms of like helping absorb impact when you go down on the knees. And you can sort of see here, pretty similar in profile, but just in terms of having that hard cap protection down on the bottom, that's something that I know a lot of goalies at the pro level like.
And that's one of the things actually you called out as a good point. It's like a lot of these will look really big, especially in pictures wise, but once they actually get wrapped around your leg, you'll see how much they'll taper and wrap around. Gone are the days of those super huge, and I'm sure you remember them, those Revoke knee pads. They were quite popular in the NHL, and that's where a lot of that jiggy fly kind of came about. Like those things were, indescribable on how big they were.
There were models that were made in Switzerland. We've written stories about them. Alex Ald showed us some for a video a few months back. Our InGoal premium members will be able to go check that out. The ones we're talking about, a lot of extra carbon fiber layers built over top of those standard Reebok models. Tell you a quick story. Eddie Lack actually used to wear one of these, and then over top of it, a Brian's Pro model that I have in the garage that was actually bigger. So he actually used to wear two. It was like having a pad over your knee. It was insane.
Hey, I mean, if you're going to take slap shots straight to the knee from like a Shea Weber or a Zdeno Chara, like I'll put as much on as I can get.
All right. So KP Pro, CCM KP Pro, this is sort of the biggest model. As we've talked about, the knee zone in the back kind of provides sort of a little spot. I can't remember what they used to call it, ADP, or there was an actual technology involved in terms of making sure that they had it in their elbow pads as well, making sure that part of the joint that's kind of getting right in that hole, and it would help sort of absorb some of that impact around it and behind it.
All right.
So next on the
last but not least,
the Warrior.
Yes, actually,
we have two models here. We have
two models.
Ritual X2 Pro and
Pro
then
Plus.
Pro Plus. Well,
Yes.
we got to get the plus in there. And then also a Warrior RX2 Senior. And so looks to me at first glance like what we're talking about here is the difference between within the same brand.
Correct.
A couple of different options in terms of how much protection and how much fit.
Correct. Now, I'll level with everybody listening. These are my go-to knee pads. To be honest, in terms of for design and things like that, I really, really like the Warriors. I find for the majority of people that get them on, they tend to work well. They're protective. They don't slide as much as compared to some of the other knee pads that we carry. There's lots of different options in terms of integrating them with your pants, or even straight into the pad in some cases. They're just a great knee pad.
There you go. Sales pitch by Cam.
So yeah, if you were looking at one to kind of start out with, definitely the Warrior.
Okay, so in two different options, and one just fits a little smaller,
So if you want to pass me that senior one really quickly, I'll show you what the differences are. So
talk to us about the differences, because of course we've got the podcast and the simulcast video.
So we'll start kind of at the actual landing portion where your knee actually sits. With the X or the Pro Plus, what you're getting is a bit more coverage in the knee. So if it does happen to open up a little bit, you actually have another layer of protection, whereas here it's just a bit of a flap, so it's a little bit narrower. Second, as you kind of go up to the actual like thigh portion of the knee pad itself, this is a double layered cap as opposed to a single layered cap that you'd find in the senior. So again, you're getting that kind of additional level of protection depending on the level of your play. I actually have the senior version. I've been more than happy with it for quite a long time, over a number of years. I've been found it's enough protection for me. However, if you are, playing maybe at a bit more of an elite level than me, which isn't saying much, or looking for a little bit more additional protection, that's where that Pro Plus is going to come into play.
Perfect, Cam. Thank you very much for walking us through. Like I said, give them a call. Where can they get a hold of you if you've got questions about knee pads and which models for you?
604-589-8299 or 1-800 Hutch, help me out.
You still haven't memorized that, eh? I thought that was going to be a resolution for
that was. We're starting the knee off strong.
All right. Well, from the Hockey Shop Source for Sports here in Vancouver, well, the suburbs, Surrey, British Columbia, from Goalie Utopia, I am Kevin. He is Cam. That has been your lesson on knee pads. And remember, these models that we walked you through, just the tip of the iceberg. He's got junior sizes, junior models for kids, some smaller fits. Pretty much anything you need, he's got it on the wall over there, so make sure you give him a call if you need knee protection. We highly recommend it.